All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. Today we're going to be going over a machine that is new to the scene, but they've come out with this machine. It's a lower wattage machine, but it is intended to be portable, be able to take places, and versatile as far as a small form factor handheld machine goes. And it's going to be the new Lumos from WeCreat, and it's a 10 watt blue and a 3 watt IR machine that actually does have a handle that lets you know they intended for you to pick it up and carry it around. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be going over it. So if you're into that type of thing, stick around and we'll be right back. So, as I mentioned in the opening, this is a 10 watt blue, 3 watt IR machine. The form factor is designed to be portable, lightweight, and capable of carrying it wherever. All right, it weighs in at about 15 pounds according to the specifications that are in the manual that comes with the machine. A couple of things as far as the way it's built is that the actual laser assembly itself is detachable. I don't have the other accessories yet. This machine's not supposed to be coming out for about another 5 days from this point. So those accessories haven't made it here yet, but it's going to have a cone, a rotary, a bed slider, all those different things as well. But for now, this is just the base machine. Now, I will tell you, unlike some of the machines in this category, it does have an attached cover that slides up and down. This high-speed, low-drag lens cover does not come with the machine. This is custom. I made that for my own use because the black ones, I have a tendency of overlooking those. And so I make these with my little tearaway tags on them. The floor of the machine is removable, so if you need to engrave something through the bottom of the machine, that is a possibility. And although portable, I will say, guys, if you hold this thing and walk around with it in your hand long enough, it'll get heavy. One thing that you'll also notice about this machine is it comes out of the box with this little 3-inch exhaust port here. Has all the controls are on the outside, the plugs for the rotary and the bed and all that. Little power switch, power, USB. So it's very compact. Everything's just kind of right there together. As well as the bed, they give you this little bed here, which is similar to what you would see with most Galvo machines. But you also get this little cutting surface. I do like the fact that the cutting surface fits in the same hole as this guy, but you can also flip this over and it has like a little cutting surface on the back side of that piece as well. So if you don't want to use this big tall one here, with the blades on it, this is like a blade bed, you can use that one just for, you know, thin cutting or whatever. So that's pretty cool. But that's the basic setup. I mean, with this machine, just the base machine like this, all you need is a power cord. USB is optional. And so far, I've been running it on the wireless using my Wi-Fi network, and it's been pretty solid. The only things that you may need to watch out for, I don't have the problem because I don't have spaces in the name of my Wi-Fi network. But if you have spaces or special characters in the name of your Wi-Fi SSID, sometimes that can cause a problem with some of these machines. So, all right, guys. So as far as the control software, like I mentioned, you can control this machine with a computer using either USB or Wi-Fi connection. Now, keep in mind, this machine is relatively new, and at the time of this video, there is currently no support that I'm aware of or that was in the manual for it for light burn. So if you're a light burn user and you want to be able to use light burn, that's going to be a problem with the machine currently. Now, today is, like I said, pre-release, and so that's probably something that's coming, I would imagine. But as of today, as of the filming of this video, there currently is no setup, configuration, or option to use light burn with the machine. Now, the machine does, unlike some of the smaller comparable machines with the 10 watt and the lower wattage IR, the machine does have a camera in it, which is pretty cool. And the camera is acceptably accurate. It's not dead on, but it gives you a really good estimation and a good rendering of what the object is going to look like. But it also allows you to frame in the software to make sure you get those precise positions the way you want them. Now, with that said, because the only option for this machine is the WeCreat software, hardware-wise, I haven't had any problems with the machine. Everything functions as it should. The autofocus, everything maneuvers the way that it should. The only problems and the only grumbles that I have with the machine so far are all in the software. At this time, I am running firmware version 1.1.6, and I'm running software version 3.0.1-5. And those are the most current, according to WeCreat software. Those are the most current softwares out there at this time. And yes, I made myself some notes because I didn't want to forget any of this stuff, especially with there being some issues that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. One of the biggest limitations, and me and Steve have talked about this one in depth with this machine, is for some reason all of WeCreat's machines are omnidirectional, meaning that the beam only engages typically going from left to right, and then it's making a dry run from right to left, and it engages left to right. So in essence, your laser is only engaging 50% of the time that it's traveling, as opposed to bidirectional. You get up there, you know, I'm not going to say 100% because there are some white space movements, but you get the understanding of if it's a square box, you're going to have the laser is going to be on for a lot more of a duration if it goes both ways than if it only goes one. So by being omnidirectional, and with this machine, you can only use their software, engravings do take longer. It does do a decent job, a good job with the engraving, and that's something we're going to go over in a minute. It's some of the material testing that I've done, and I've got it doing some pretty good jobs. The speed and power test in the WeCreat software currently is not performing the way that it should. The text on all of my tests are staying with that 4,000 at the top over there, and I can't get it to change. And so that's kind of been a hindrance for me to try to figure out what speed and power to use for my testing. And being that I can't use light burn with this machine, that further complicates things. So I'm just kind of having to test different power settings until I find one that works, and can't necessarily do a grid per se. So that's a little bit of an inconvenience. But like I said, again, it is software related. These problems, all the problems that I have had with this machine so far have been software related, and hopefully they'll get that worked out before the release date. I believe that this video should be live on June the 20th, and I believe that's going to be when they start taking orders, releasing the machine and whatnot. I am hoping that there is another version of the software between now and then. Oh, pause it, guys. I just got word while editing this video, there is an updated software, so maybe it'll fix it, that can correct these issues. Because other than the software issues that I've encountered so far, the machine actually performs really well. I mean, it is, for some of you guys, the fan is probably going to be a bit loud when the machine's powered on for some of you guys. It's not that big of an issue with me. I work around other power tools, but If this was in your, in your home or whatever, it could be a little louder than you like. But all in all, I've been able to do some testing with it, and I've found some workable settings. So like I said, I've had to do this the old-fashioned way with the materials because the speed and power test doesn't want to cooperate with me. But I have found some settings, and I've been doing a little bit of testing. We're going to talk about the blue diode first because it is kind of more of a variety of materials that you can do with the blue diode. It's the 10 watt, so it's going to be the faster of the two as far as doing most materials. So we're going to talk about that. Now, I want to lead with saying this machine can cut materials, but with limitations. I would not be trying to cut anything thicker than, say, 3 millimeters, regardless of what the material is. There is going to be some things that you need to know if you're going to try to cut with this machine. One of the most noticeable things that you're going to want to know about is that, I don't know if you can tell, it's hard to see in this picture, but because this is a galvo machine, two things. There is no air assist. Therefore, you're going to have to keep your speeds up pretty good to avoid flame ups. All right. And with this machine, I will tell you the flame sensor works really well. So if you create the slightest flame, it's going to throw an error. There are going to be some materials to where you're going to be strongly driven towards turning it off because it will go off so many times. Leather, so to speak. But that's going to be another problem, is going to be that if you can tell, this material is, the edge is angled because of the galvanometer on the machine. The laser is basically in the shape of a cone, and so it's not going to be doing a straight up and down cut. Now, as long as you're just cutting things out like Christmas ornaments or something like that, and you put them in the center of the workspace, it's not going to be a big deal. You're not going to notice it. Where you're going to notice it is if you start trying to make things that snap together or that lock together. That's where this is going to create a problem because of those angled edges. So just know that this machine was not intended to be cutting out boxes or cutting out things that have to be snapped together. But engraving wise, it does a good job with the engrave. You can see here also, because of the lack of air assist, I was getting some flaming right there, and that's when I was trying to dial in those settings. Most of the cutting that I'm doing, I'm working it out to where I'm doing like 10 passes to cut just to try to keep the flame down. And I went, after I got that one done, I played with the settings a little bit more, did a little bit better job of making that a darker engrave. And I also got a cleaner cut because I wound up finding the settings needed to cut the material without getting it too hot and causing all that soot. So once I got that narrowed down and got it going, I decided to just continue playing with the machine and seeing what it can do. And as you see with this engrave here, guys, the machine does a really good job. It does a really detailed job. It's not extremely slow. It is relatively fast because it's a galvo. But like I said, you are going to see some decreases with this machine. If you're running the same settings as another machine that does bi-directional, there is going to be a longer time for the job with this machine because it's basically every pass it makes is got white space on the back side of it. So this was ran at 100% at 125 millimeters per second. The line density was at 160. So done a good job on that. It does a really good job with the engraving. I've been pleased with that so far. And this is where I was doing the edge cut test. I moved this piece of material way over near the outer bounds of the machine's reach, and you can really see the angle on that one. But I took this one, and basically that cut was all the way out to the edge of the work area, and that kind of exaggerates it out there. The closer to the center of the work area you get, the less noticeable that would be. So another material that I think, and I've tested, and it works pretty well with this machine, is going to be like if you're somebody that wants to do hat patches with leather. I think there is promise with this machine at engraving hat patches, but this thing's having a hard time focusing. There you go. There's a hat patch that I engraved. The problem that I'm running into is the cut. When I was trying to cut this out, I had to turn the flame sensor completely off because it triggered, like every time that the laser would even interact with the material, it triggered the laser. And so the engrave worked really well. Cutting, not so much. This is some like tooling leather. It's really thick. You could probably do better with some of the artificial leather or the leatherette made for lasers. Would probably do a little bit better job than that. So keeping with wood, because I think wood is going to be what a lot of people will be wanting to use with this. I've got some, like, this is some 3mm MDF. This is some really dense MDF, but I got a really nice engrave on there and a decent cut. So I think this material, this 3mm MDF, would definitely be something for Christmas ornaments or whatnot. Also, you could use like the true flat plywood because it is an MDF also. I think that would be a suitable material for the machine. Haven't done a lot of testing with it yet. I do plan on using some of that in a future video, but for right now, I haven't had the opportunity to test any of it just yet. But yeah, nice dark engrave on that. And then there's the settings on that material that I used. I did use 100% power at 158 millimeters a second for the engrave. And then I used 100% power, 25 millimeters per second with 10 passes to do the cut. And yes, I do have the beveled edge ever so slightly, but I did position this one in the middle of the work area, so it's not nearly as noticeable as the others. Another medium that is kind of an overlooked medium sometimes, especially if you're practicing or if you're designing files, that I like to use to test machines sometimes and play with, is cardboard. This is literally an Amazon box piece of cardboard. And so I just did some settings. I found cut settings for it as well as engrave settings, and it turned out really nice. This material can be used to prototype if you're making like a holder for something, or you're trying to make a certain shape for whatever application. Cardboard is one of those things. It's not real durable, but it's really good for prototyping. It's cheap, and most of us throw it away after we get our packages out of it. So there you go. You can thank me later for that little tidbit of information. And you can actually make some pretty crafty little things with cardboard. So another material that a lot of people ask me about all the time is acrylics. Now, blue diodes can do certain colors acrylics, and they can do a good job at certain color acrylics. Now, I will say this, there are some caveats to being able to do those acrylics with a diode laser. And one of those things that I find to be very critical when doing black, red, green sometimes, and orange acrylic with a blue diode is you need a really good air assist. And this machine does not have air assist. So as far as engraving, it can somewhat engrave it. And like I said, had I had speed and power tests to run, I probably could have found a little better settings and played around with the hour as well. But I did engrave it, and I tried to cut it out. But as you can see, it just melted and infused back together. That's one of the reasons that air assist with acrylic comes in handy, because it basically, as the beam melts the material and moves it back, the air assist kind of cools it really fast and doesn't allow it to form back together. Now, red acrylic sometimes is another one of those that with a blue diode does a really good job. And I was able to engrave this red acrylic and got a pretty decent little like pink engrave on it, but cutting it was a no-go. Flame sensor kept coming on repeatedly, and it also just more or less melted a line, and then it didn't cut it. So those materials weren't, I wasn't really super impressed with the results on those, but I was looking at the machine, and I have done some testing with some of the Lone Star adhesive materials before using similar machines from other companies, and they did a decent job. So I thought, you know what, let me try a piece of Lone Star acrylic. And this is a piece of the silver, black, and orange acrylic from Lone Star. And you can see that turned out really well. And I was able to find the settings to cut that out also. You can see here, this is my first test. And then I walked it down, and then I walked it down there. And then I did another little compass rose there to kind of test the settings, make sure I had it right. And then I found myself some cut settings and was able to cut this out, and it popped out of there with no problem. This first one, this little small one I cut here, yeah, I had to wrestle that one out. So I had to add a couple more passes to the material, but you can see it snapped right back in the hole, and it comes out really nice. So this material would be something suitable for the machine if you really want to do hat patches or make small, you know, like refrigerator decorations or ornaments or whatever you're making out of this stuff. That would definitely be something doable. Now, like I said earlier, the cutting surface, you're going to want to use the cutting surface, this one or the other one at least, anytime you're attempting to cut with this machine. I do not recommend buying this machine for cutting per se, but it can do some cutting with 3mm and thinner materials. Some other materials that you might want to look at with this would be like some heavy cardstock. The heavy cardstock, and pretty much all the cardstocks are going to be easier to cut than the 3mm MDF that we did here. So if you're looking at true flat materials, any kind of heavy cardstock, anything like that, it will definitely cut it. You're just going to need to make multiple passes to try to keep the soot down, but that shouldn't be a problem. Now, the small work area of the machine is something that you definitely need to consider if you're looking at getting this machine. Those materials, if those are what you're wanting to work with, then there's my findings so far. Now, this machine is a dual frequency machine. It has the red laser as well as the blue, or the IR, whichever you want to call it. WeCreat in their software refers to it as the red laser, and then of course the other one is the blue laser. Now, the red laser is capable, and I use the word capable loosely, it is capable of marking such things as stainless steel and other metals. It's going to be slow. It's a 3-watt, okay? So if you're wanting to mark larger things than, say, this, you're going to probably want to get something a little more powerful when it comes to marking regular stainless. This is, like I said, this is stainless steel. It's like a really thick dog tag, and that took a few minutes. It was not one of those, you know, easy, quick jobs. What I tend to use the IR modules for on these smaller machines are going to be things like these, like keychain tags, pet tags. Like you could put, you know, get these little bone-shaped ones that you can put on pets and stuff like that. You can make labels. There's lots of uses for these little anodized pieces, and you can get them in all kinds of shapes and sizes. These are some of the larger ones that I have, but I have smaller ones. I have different shaped ones. There's even the wristbands that you can buy that are made like this. So that is a relatively quick engrave. I think this one was like in the seconds. It wasn't even a full minute, I don't think, with the speeds and power that I ran. So that to me is more of a material that you could expect to do with this machine and do it effectively and efficiently. Another one of those materials, of course, is going to be anodized aluminum, whether it's the business card like these, or the license plates, or any other kind of anodized materials you can take. And like I said, that you can see the speeds and everything on that one. What I wound up going with was 100% power at 400 millimeters per second, and that didn't take all that long with the machine. So this is definitely a good medium for that IR module. But by having the IR module on the machine, it does open you up to a few more materials. Like I said, the anodized, powder-coated items and stuff like that are pretty handy, pretty cool. There's some plastics that you can interact with. You're going to want to be careful with those and just do your homework and make sure that there's not going to be any harmful fumes or anything like that being emitted when you're engraving certain plastics. Not all plastics are intended on being engraved. And it's a good practice, no matter what you're engraving, to make sure that you have proper ventilation, either outside or to some type of a safe filtration system in your shop, just to avoid breathing all that stuff. But all in all, so far, guys, like I said, the biggest hang up that I have had with the machine is in the software. And I'm hopeful that all of that will be resolved by the time they release this machine. I will be, you know, hanging around and doing some more videos with the machine One of the big hang-ups too, and I'll go ahead and throw this one out there for you in case you were to get the machine, the material library that is in the software, it has a setting for the material thickness. The way that they've got it configured, if you change materials, the machine will automatically set the 0 based on that material thickness. Now, they've got in the controller, they have that set basically as an absolute position so that it assumes that you're basing that off of the bottom of the machine, the base of the machine, that removable plate. But if you use this and then you put in there that you're using a 2 millimeter thick material, it only raises the Z up 2 millimeters. It does not account for the 15 millimeters thickness of this piece right here. So same thing with if you're using a jig or if you're using any other type of material. What has happened, in my opinion, it seems to be that they've got this machine set to absolute based on the base and not a relative Z. When you change the material, that material thickness should be relative to the bed or the current 0. So be real careful when you're changing materials and make sure that in your camera that those 2 dots show that they're touching in the camera view in the software. If they're not, reach up there and hit that autofocus button to go ahead and autofocus the machine. And as long as you don't change the material after autofocusing, the focus will remain the same. So that one got me. It got me a few times. I thought the machine had quit on me, but it wasn't that. It was the fact that I was using the IR and it was 15 millimeters out of focus because of that little glitch in the software. Now, hopefully all of this will be fixed with the next version of the WeCreat Make It software, and that won't be a problem. But anyway, I will drop links down below, guys, if you're interested in looking at the machine. If you want to see any of the technical specifications of the machine, feel free to jump in there and look at that and check it out. Like I said, I will be out of pocket for a few days. I'm not going to be available for the first day or two of the release probably. But as soon as I can get around to making more content with the machine, I am going to try to do like a couple of project videos with it and just maybe emphasize a little more on the software, give you guys a little bit more of a look under the hood and show you the machine working real time a little more than what I have today. So until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.